Welcome to Hear Me Out Podcast, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy, Stan the Man Griffin, with another reaction video. Today I'm going to be reacting to Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, the popular life coach and psychologist who is known for helping others with relationships. Now, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant is 42 years old and is single. She once stated that she had been in a relationship for 5 years that didn't work out. Now, for a woman who is supposed to be a life coach and a relationship coach who can't land a husband is subject to scrutiny of her ability to help anyone in a relationship when she can't help herself. How can you be a psychologist and a life coach and be blind to the fact that it's inappropriate to go out in public practically naked? But this is a problem with many famous black women and black female public figures showing up at public events practically naked. I did a reaction to Ciara, Russell Wilson's wife, showing up at a red carpet event butt naked. Now, Toni Braxton showed up at her son's graduation looking like she was ready to climb on a stripper's pole and twirl around a few times. And who can forget the stir Halle Berry caused when she showed up at a red carpet event with her pussy showing? This is a trend with famous black women today. Cheyenne Bryant is 42 years old. Halle Berry was 58 with her pussy showing. Ciara is now 40 and Toni Braxton is 58. These are older females going out in public half naked or practically butt naked. Or as some would say, excuse the French, butt ass naked. For what? What are you trying to prove? And for somebody who claims to be a life coach and a psychologist trying to help people in relationship, who is she helping in a relationship? How can she help someone in a relationship and she doesn't even know how to dress? Who is she trying to attract by going out in public butt naked? Let's get too busy with it, people. Let's talk about this, okay?
Yes. Do not love me like that. Literally. And figuratively.
Yeah, you have gifts and you have professionalism. You got to have both.
As I was saying earlier, Dr. Cheyenne Bryant is 42 years old and she is single. Like I said before, she said she once had a relationship that lasted 5 or 6 years, I think she said, and it didn't work out. Now, this is a woman that is purported to be a life coach and a relationship expert. But yet she has the audacity to come out in public practically naked. Practically naked. Now, a lot of people may say, well, she has the right to do anything she wants. That's her body, her choice, as in everything else with women today. My body, my choice. Yeah, it's your body, your choice. But that doesn't make it right just because you choose wrong and you choose to do things that are inappropriate for any woman of any age to do. And less known a woman that's 42 years, that's middle age. That's a middle-aged woman. 42 years old is middle age. Because you figure the life expectancy is 80, 88, 90 years old. So if you're in your 40s, you're middle age. You're a middle-aged woman who doesn't have a husband. You came to the event alone, which really looks bad, and you're supposed to be a life coach and a relationship expert. And you came to the event alone with no one, half naked. So what are you trying to do? Who are you trying to attract? Who are you trying to get? Are you trying to get Jeezy? Are you looking for a guy who's got a little bit of money to make your day feel a little bit better? See, there's nothing that says that it's okay for a woman to reject relationships from her 20s all the way into her 40s and then expect men her own age to want to be with her. Well, listen. Geriatric pregnancy starts at 35 years old. At 35 years old, if you get pregnant at 35 years old, you are a high risk. You are in a high risk pregnancy. It is what they call a geriatric pregnancy, and your chances of having a successful term of carrying a child to full term just drops considerably once you turn 35. Go past 35 years old who haven't gotten married and they're looking for a man around about their same age. Men are more inclined to marry a woman who is younger, who is still fertile, who is able to carry a baby full term without a risk, with very low risk of dying in pregnancy, than a woman that's in her 40s. She's at high risk pregnancy. So these things, people, you really have to think about. If you want to say, well, I'm a strong, independent black woman, I don't need no man, and I'm going to wait, well, there's consequences to waiting. There's consequences to waiting, and you're going to have a baby without a man, just like Ebony K. Williams did. She went to a sperm bank. She went to a sperm bank. Is that what you want? You want a what they call a turkey baster baby? It's a turkey baster baby. You know, they put the sperm in the turkey baster and ask you to open your legs and they squirt it up. It's a turkey baster baby. Of course, that's not the actual procedure of squirting the sperm up in there, but you get the picture, right? It's not something that you would really want to go through. No woman really should want to go through that. I can understand if you're a young couple and you're having difficulty getting pregnant, and so you decide to go with IVF, in vitro fertilization. That makes sense for people who have problems getting pregnant. But for a woman that's a younger woman in her 20s that's married and she can have children the normal way, why wouldn't you? Why would you want to wait and freeze your eggs, pay $25,000 or $30,000, $40 or $50, depends on how good the place is and what they charge, to freeze your eggs just so you can get pregnant after 35 years old? Makes no sense at all. But I digress. What I want to say before we get back to the video is this, is that how is it possible that you think you can teach people how to have relationships when you don't have one yourself? When you can't land a husband? When you go out in public butt naked trying to get a man to look at you, to look at your goodies? Look at my goodies. Look at my goodies.
Okay.
My.
Dr. Cheyenne Bryant was outside recently at Jeezy's performance. I don't know what's going on with the doc, but it seemed like the doc is freaked out. Okay, there is a whole bunch of stuff that's been happening over the last couple of days. She went to like a Jeezy show, as you can see her here pictured with Jeezy, and she don't got no clothes on. Okay, now I don't know what is going on behind the scenes, but we're gonna go ahead and dive into the entire conversation. And of course, you guys know I'm gonna give you guys my thoughts, my feelings, and my opinion on this whole situation.
I'll tell you a few things that I did pray. I prayed for a God-fearing man. I prayed for discernment. I prayed for wisdom, to really learn from the wisdom that I'm gaining through the experience that I'm going through.
And, her and Russell would be like on the front pew at church, okay, doing the most and being a part of church conferences. And then at the same time, she showed up to the Vanity Fair party dressed like this. And so it's like a contradiction thing. And it's the same thing with Cheyenne Bryant, okay? She goes to these places. She always is quoting the Bible. And
Well, I think the Bible says cleave. One person. This is cleaving.
That when you have God's understanding, which, surpasses, God's peace, which surpasses all understanding, you become vertical in who you are.
Desired and
not
deserved.
God can, God will.
God will.
God is doing everything right now.
Yes.
Okay? He doesn't leave or forsake us. It's not
Yes.
that he's not doing, it's that we're not receiving.
Again, I want people to know that God's promises are always sitting right there available for you. And I'm telling you, what breaks that promise open is our obedience and our trust and our faith in him.
Here's what I want to say. That's Reva from Reva TV, and I showed that clip for a purpose. And the reason being is that we're going to tie all this stuff together. She was talking about Ciara talking about the prayer that she prayed. She prayed for wisdom. She prayed for this. She prayed for a godly husband, all this stuff. But yet, she showed up to the Vanity Fair red carpet event, but naked. But naked. That is not the dress of a Christian woman. And then you got Cheyenne Bryant talking all this godly stuff. All this godly stuff, cleaving and everything, and God is with you, and this and that and that. And then she shows up at a red carpet or a Jeezy event, but naked. Now we're going to tie, it is confusing but we're going to tie all this, I'm going to tie all this back to the black church. And the reason that Russell Wilson can go to church with Ciara and they can be on the front pews praying, and then she can come out of the house dressed butt ass naked and go to an event and turn around and show her naked butt on the red carpet and then claim to be God, is because the churches that they go to, 75, I'm going to say this, 75 to 80% of all black pastors can't keep their dicks in their pants. They're screwing all the women in the church. In fact, in most black churches, for a pastor to screw all the women in the church, it's basically a rite of passage. It is their rite of passage to have sex with all the women in the church, married or non-married. They're going to have sex with the deacons' wives, everybody. That's the black church, and it's been like that for over 100 years. Most black pastors cannot keep their dicks in their pants. The black pastors are the biggest gigolos in the community. And the only reason most of them that want to be pastor is because they get to take in the money and they get to sleep with all the women in the church. They see all the women in church, they say, oh, you can eat pussy buffet. It's a pussy buffet. I'm going to tell you a story. Back in 1980, I was playing back in music back in the 80s. And we had a keyboard player in our band. He was a Latino guy. His name was Cisco. And I'll just leave his name at that. And he told me this story, and it's a true story, because he verified it. They had called a black civil rights leader, and you would know his name, but this will start with J and J, to his church to speak on some issues that they were having in their community. And when he said his friend picked him up at the airport in a limo. And as soon as this civil rights leader, this civil rights leader got out off the plane and into the limo, the first thing that came out of his mouth was, "Where's the pussy at? Where's the pussy?" That is the black church. It's been that way for over 100 years. They get well provided for, and they get to screw all the women in the church. They can't keep their dicks in the pants. So how are they going to correct Ciara? How are they going to correct Dr. Cheyenne Bryant when they probably done had them too? When you got a bunch of pastors, black pastors, and it's a ritual, it's a rite of passage for them to screw all the women in the church, what can they actually tell you? How can they discipline you? Because they done slept with the women in the church, so they ain't got no business trying to tell somebody how to dress and how to live when the pastors ain't even living right. Anybody that watches this video, you can get angry at me all you want. You can get angry, but I'm telling the truth. The black church is the most screwed up entity in the black community. And if you got a pastor that can't keep his dick in his pants, how are you going to get your prayers answered? He can't lead you into nothing because he ain't even living right. He's just a male whore trying to get as much pussy as he can get and get your money. Now that's pissing some people off right now, but I'm telling the truth. I'm telling the truth. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the reason why Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, Ciara, and all these other famous black women who go out in public butt naked because they're not being taught nothing. They're not being taught spiritual values that conform to the image of Jesus Christ by their pastors. How can a pastor teach women to live godly lives and wear godly apparel that's pleasing to God when they can't even keep their dicks in their pants? They're screwing all the women in the church. This is the black church, ladies and gentlemen. It is the church of gigoloism. The black pastors are the biggest gigolos in the community. They get to sit up in church, collect money, and have all the pussy they can get. Because that's what they're doing. In fact, like I said before, it's a rite of passage in many black churches for the black pastor to screw all the women in the church, deacons' wives included. Deacons' wives included. It's the most corrupt entity in the black community. It is the black church and the black pastor. I'm probably pissing some people off right now, but I do not care. It needs to be said. Black pastors, 75 to 80% or even higher, they all are sleeping with the women in the church. They collecting the money and they're living in nice houses, buying nice cars, driving nice cars, living in mansions, and they can't keep their dicks in their pants. And there's no way that a man that claims to be a man of God, who's screwing all the women in the church, who's taking your money, you're not going to be blessed by giving to a man like that. He is of Satan, the devil. And this is why Ciara can go to church on Sundays and in the pews pray and then come out in public butt ass naked and think nothing of it. Because the very person that she probably sits under as a pastor, he's a whore. He's a male whore. He's a gigolo. He's just a gigolo that preaches words from the Bible that he don't even live himself on Sunday mornings. That's what he does. That's what this is about, people. But I digress. Let's continue. So there we see Keke Palmer showing up at the Usher concert with her butt cheeks out. And she just flaunting it. And this is not too long after she had her baby. And this is the thing that is going on with black women who are popular in our culture today. They are bearing it all in public, or as much as they can possibly can and get away with without being arrested for indecent exposure. Because we do still have indecent exposure laws on the books in most states in this country. So you just can't flat out go out and walk around butt naked with everything showing. But they're doing their best to show as much as they can, as much as they can get away with without being arrested. And this is the community that we live in. And earlier in this video, not too far long ago, I tied it all to the black church. The black church is the most screwed up entity in the black community. It is nothing more than a whorehouse from so-called, supposedly air quotes now, men of God, so they can collect money and get pussy. That's all churches are. They're just used to collect money. The pastors use them to collect money and get as much pussy as they want. It's a money and all you can eat pussy buffet. That's all it's been, and it's been like that for over 100 years. It's been like that for over 100 years. It is a rite of passage for most black pastors to screw all the women in the church. That's just how it is. And this stuff is filtered into the community. You got people like, I'm going to go talk about this in another video, the Michigan football coach who had an affair with one of his associates, which is against the bylaws of the Michigan University bylaws and protocol, and now he's without a job. But he ain't never been taught nothing. He ain't never been taught nothing. He didn't get no teaching from the church. The church that he went to, his pastor probably couldn't keep his dick in his pants. So he thinks that he can carry that same attitude out into the world and get away with it. You can't. You can't. Black pastors may be able to get away with it because the black community is so stupid they let them get away with it. But you can't get away with that in the regular world. You can't bring that attitude of not controlling the head on your dick instead of using the head on your shoulders. You're using the head of the head that's at the end of your dick to do your thinking for you. I'm just being blunt. I'm just being blunt and crass about this, crass about it as I can possibly get, because it needs to be said. It needs to be said. The black church is a screwed up, worthless entity that has no connection with God whatsoever. And this is why you got our women out there doing what they're doing, because a black pastor can't tell them anything because he's screwing all the women in the church. So why should they listen to him? Why should they listen to his counsel? He's more screwed up than they are. He's claiming to be God, a man of God, and think he can screw everybody in the church and think he's going to make it to heaven. When the Bible specifically says, flee fornication. For every sin that a man does outside of his body, but he that fornicates sinneth against his own body. He sins against his own body. He corrupts his own self. He corrupts himself from within. Jeez. Let's continue. So you got Halle Berry. She showed up at a red carpet event with a dress that showed her pussy. If you look close enough at the dress, you can see her pussy showing. That is the type of stuff that black women are getting into nowadays. It is out of control, out of order. And you can't blame it all on just the way of the world. The way of the world is getting worse, and it's getting worse and worse. But we have something to do with it. We also, that the black church is a corrupt, useless organization that provides no spiritual insight to the community whatsoever. 75 to 80% of all black pastors are just gigolos. Money collecting gigolos with a church full of women that they get to screw. That's what it is. That's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. That is what it is. So that's the way I see it, ladies and gentlemen. Things are going to get worse because we are living in the last days, and you're going to see even more crazier stuff. You're going to see things escalate to a level that you never thought possible as far as immorality is concerned, and the way that people dress. And it's sad to say, but a lot of black women are going to be leading the charge in this immorality. They're going to be leading the charge because they have nobody to learn from. There is no one in the black community to teach them what is right and what is wrong. The black pastors can't do it. Like I said, they all can't keep their dicks in their pantses. And like I said, 75 to 85% of all black pastors are screwing the women in the church. The church to them is nothing but a money collecting mechanism and a buffet, a grand pussy buffet, where they can get all the pussy they want. That's what it is to them. And like I said, that civil rights leader who goes by the name JJ, his initials are JJ, back in the 80s. He came to that church, and my friend told me about it. His friend picked him up at the airport. The first thing that came out of his mouth was, "Where the pussy at? Where the pussy?" It's funny to the point where it's just sad and disgusting is what it is. We are in trouble, ladies and gentlemen. And the only hope is God, is to really fully turn to God. And you can't depend on the church. You got to open that Bible and crack it open for yourself, because those men who say they believe in God, they believe in money and pussy. That is what they want. That is what they believe in, and that is what they're after. The church is nothing but a mechanism to get money and pussy. I'm pissing some people off right now, but I'm telling the truth. I'm telling the truth. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. It shall make you free by the weight of the law of the truth. That scripture has the same connotations as when Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, that the slaves had to be set free by the weight of the law. When Lincoln signed that, it was automatically the weight of the law that forced the slaves in the South to be free. And the word of God, you shall know the truth, and the truth will emancipate you by the law and make you free. Let that sink in. The truth is an emancipation proclamation that forces you to be free. It doesn't set you free. Set means that you have a choice. But to be made free, to make you free, is by law. Think about that. God bless. Be safe. Keep the peace. And get to know God, for God just doesn't have good truth. God just doesn't know the truth. God is truth.
If you only